There is no greater loss that one can suffer than to lose a spouse, a child, a parent, or close family member, particularly if your loved one's death is caused by the negligence or fault of another party. The loss of a loved one can have devastating consequences, both emotional and financial. Joining us today to talk about legal claims arising from the wrongful death of a loved one is attorney David Farnbauch, a personal injury attorney from the Sweeney Law Firm in Fort Wayne. Thanks for spending some time with us today to talk about wrongful death claims, David.
Thanks for having me.
David, you've handled a number of wrongful death cases in the course of your career. How do these cases differ from cases involving serious injury?
Well, I think the central feature of a wrongful death case is the case is really about the loss of the survivors. The most important element of damages in a wrongful death case is the loss of love and companionship of the person that's deceased.
When a person dies as a result of someone else's negligence, what are some of the different categories of damages that you can recover in a wrongful death case?
As I mentioned earlier, the most important element of damage or category of damage in a wrongful death case are damages to a spouse or to a child or a loved one as a result of the loss of love and companionship of the person that died. Another important category or element of damage in a wrongful death case are loss of future earnings. If a loved one dies and was projected to work another 20 or 30 years, the family can recover damages for the loss of future earnings. Another element of damage in a wrongful death case are the recovery of the funeral and burial expenses associated with the person's death.
David, it might be helpful if you take our viewers through some of the steps that are involved when your office is involved to represent a family in a wrongful death case.
Well, obviously the first step is to schedule an appointment to meet with one of the lawyers in our office. We try to be as understanding and compassionate as we can be when we're dealing with a family who has had the loss of a loved one. It's a very traumatic time and it's a very trying time, and we try to be understanding and compassionate and try to give helpful information and advice to families that are involved in this situation. The other thing that's unique about a wrongful death case is normally we have to open up what's known as an estate. An estate is simply a legal proceeding that's filed in the probate court with the county where a family member, usually it's a spouse, is selected to serve as the personal representative of the estate to pursue a legal case.
Can you offer any advice to families who've lost a loved one and have reason to believe that the loss of that person was caused by the fault of another party?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think the first thing to do in a situation where there's been a wrongful death and a potential legal case is to meet with an attorney, hopefully an experienced attorney who has handled wrongful death cases before. The other thing I can encourage families to do, because we've had a number of cases in our office where we've represented families in a wrongful death situation, is to seek counseling. Oftentimes these are very emotionally traumatic situations, and we find that the families who seek counseling out, professional psychological counseling after a wrongful death event, they really benefit from that type of counseling.
Thanks for sharing time and insights with us today, David.
It's been great to be here today.